Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another video. Big up your damn selves in the building. Make sure you smash up the likes every single damn time and subscribe if you are new. Maresca's first words at Chelsea Football Club. It sounds like he's a baby who's just learned to talk, but he was missing for quite some time. It felt like we were going to have to put up some flyers, but the brother has arrived and he's given us a very short but condensed, concise interview on Chelsea Football Club's YouTube channel. Not as long-winded, as long as Pochettino's one last season. I remember doing a reaction to that live because it was such a long interview, I believe. But this one, far shorter and far quicker to get through. But there are some quotes there that we'll get through, as well as some extra news as well. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing how he kind of goes throughout the season with his words, with his wisdom, hopefully, in the press conferences, because, of course, there will be good times, but there will be bad times as well. There'll be some tough results. There'll be some tough games, and it'll be interesting to see how he navigates through that. A lot of the last season, Pochettino sometimes didn't really make too much sense or couldn't really translate or articulate what he wanted to really say. And with Maresca, the hope is that he can keep his head, for sure, can handle the pressure, but can also make sense of the madness if and when it does come. Maresca follows a long line of successful Italians at our football club as managers, especially in my lifetime. We've had Sarri, who, did win something very significant, as well as Conte, Premier League winner, Ancelotti, Premier League winner, and Di Matteo, Champions League winner. So we do very well with Italians around here, and it will be hopefully another successful Italian manager through the door. If he could pick up any trophy this season, I will not hesitate or, I will not choose which one. I just want any and every trophy possible if we can. We surely won't be picky. It's been a few years. So Maresca, first quote: when you join a club like Chelsea, you know it's a club that has to win. For us, we're going to try and do our best to fight and be there with the clubs that in this moment are winning and are fighting to win titles. I think when you come into Chelsea, it's important to try and state that you want to win, that you aim to win. Of course, the league title isn't really in our grasp, in my opinion. However, everybody starts from 0 points. And with that, you have an opportunity to make of your own destiny. And we should be aiming to have as high a points tally as possible this season, whilst knowing we probably won't be in a title race come March, April, because the team and the manager probably won't be ready for such a task. But top four, and however comfortable you can make it, on addition to making top four with some trophies, is for sure got to be the aim this season with the quality that we have. If people can keep fit, I don't think there's any other way but to be in the top four next season going into Champions League football. He's also got a message for the fans: trust the process, trust the idea, be behind the team for sure. We are going to enjoy the journey, like every club, like every manager. It will not be easy, but for sure we will enjoy the journey. I think be behind the team is the key line from this. I think at Stamford Bridge, I think in general, the players in particular, if this is and will continue to be such a young team. I remember last season when there was noise about doing a protest, noise about all of, the ownership and how people are going to address or how people are going to approach that issue. First of all, results always ends any of that talk, which is key to state. No one is protesting whilst winning games. Very unlikely, very, very unlikely that happens. But also, what are the repercussions that has on the team? And that's why I remember doing multiple shows, All You Can Eat Chelsea, when the discussion was always there. If you're going to do it, you had to kind of do it at the end of the season. Now, does it have as much media attention? No. Does it have as much maybe repercussions on, or does it hold as much weight with TV and with Sky and all the talk that you could get? But being behind a team, a young team, is kind of key during the season if you want to salvage anything from it. And being behind the team from the get-go is really key. They didn't purchase themselves. A lot of them, some of them maybe overpriced, some of them undervalued, underpriced. Whatever it may be, they're going to need support. Obviously, they will be critiqued as any other player would have been. Obviously, they'll be judged, but they can't really have a toxic atmosphere around them to actually, perform. It's just not going to happen. You could potentially have a toxic atmosphere of an experienced group of players, because they've seen it, done it, been there around the block. They can ride through it, but not a young team. A young team does need its fans and does need some support and some stability. So hopefully we get that this season. Last season, I don't feel like we made as much of a ruckus as people made out. even though we were 12th, 11th for 85% of the season. And I hope that that isn't even something that is considered this season. Hopefully we just aren't in those positions again, because I don't think the talent demands to be in those areas of the pitch, to be honest. I think we should be far higher up the table. And I always said that, this team was always a minimum top 6 team, even with the context of injuries, let alone anything else. Maresca, I already know all of them. The players, to be honest, I've watched them for many games in the last 2-3 weeks. Yeah, that was always the talk, right? Was that whilst on holiday, whilst away, he's been watching the team extensively last season. As you'd expect, any manager, worth their wage should be watching what has previously happened, what went right, what went wrong. Scored a lot of goals. Some attackers definitely put out some nice numbers. Defensively, though, we were awful. How can we improve that? How can we, solve those set piece issues, solve those even issues in open play, those gaps that were in between the midfield and the defense last season, whether it was Caicedo on an island, etc. How can we go about improving those parts of our game next season and making sure they don't happen again to improve the points tally? So, yeah, the homework had to be done, and it sounds like at least it has been. Let's move on, because not only is it Maresca talk today in his first interview, like I said, but there's also news on the horizon as well. But the first bit of news that I want to address is the Chelsea medical department, because I said on a video maybe a few weeks ago that the most important part of the window is the medical team, I think, because we could potentially have fresh, brand new faces next season in Wesley Fofana, in Christopher Nkunku, in Lavia, in Chukwuemeka, in Reece James. If we can keep, those players in particular I've mentioned fully fit, and that's without bringing up Chilwell, who's really potentially could be leaving anyway. But if you keep those players that I mentioned fit, they are all brand new signings. We don't know what this defense looks like with a Wesley Fofana who helps us play a high line, recovers incredibly well, in the wide areas, defends very well 1v1 and plays fantastic passes. We don't know what this team looks like with a Reece James that can whip in across from any angle on that right hand side, potentially provide goals if in dangerous back post positions, whilst also being very defensive, very good defensively, and bringing those captain leadership traits hopefully as well. And the same applies for Nkunku, who is our best attacker in terms of finishing, I believe, even though we didn't get to see a lot of it last season. And Chukwuemeka in between the lines, and Lavia in the defensive third of the pitch with Caicedo. We've given Enzo hopefully more rotation, less stress on him to play every single game through injury. So having those options even off the bench or in the starting 11, how does that improve us? If you add those players to the team last season, you immediately, in my opinion, get a higher points tally by default, and you probably make top 4, even with all of the question marks and concerns about Pochettino's tactical decision-making at times and misprofiling. So they have the most important job. We could talk about signings, but if you can't keep said signings fit, they become very irrelevant very quickly. I was so excited to see Lavia, and still am, but he didn't play more than 15 minutes last season, so that was null and void, and it goes for so many. So I don't know who these guys are. I'm sure you guys don't know either. We don't need to know who they are. All we need to see is an improvement in our medical situation next season, where we don't have 10, 11 injuries per game. We are managing the European extra fixtures that we have, the Club World Cup in the summer. We're going to need to manage and keep our players fit a lot better than we did last year with more games. Last year we were obviously getting to the latter stages of 2 domestic cups, but that's what we should be doing, and we should be preparing for that. We should be assuming that's going to be the case. So we could have 50 to 60 games, and we need to be prepared for that. The expectation is to win the Conference League outrightly. So looking forward to see how these guys do. There's changes, like I said. We don't know who these people are, but we hope that they do a damn good job, and yeah, then we can enjoy watching the players that we've actually paid for. Caicedo was talking a lot as well. Yesterday evening, I saw all these quotes coming out about how at Brighton it was all tactical with the ball, tactical, and at Chelsea it was run, and it was very difficult for me. With Chelsea, I always ran a bit more, and with Brighton, we almost always had the ball. I think we knew whilst watching Chelsea last season, it was a very back and forth type football match. It was very clear that we weren't too concerned about keeping the ball in terms of slow, methodical football. We would have the ball, but we would get the ball forward very quickly. And I'm not going to overly criticize that, because it maybe did suit some of our attackers. I think it'll be very interesting to see if a Mudryk was better placed in a team that played a bit more rock and roll, a bit more back and forth, and those transitions were there. Those opportunities to make those runs were there, as opposed to a more structural, slower possession-based team, which will be this season. He needs to have a better season than last. Madueke, started to improve towards the back end. Palmer had an incredible GA last season. Will he have the same this season? Jackson got goals. Sterling got goals. So it definitely seemed to benefit our attackers to a degree. But our midfielders were never tailor-made for that. Caicedo, Enzo, Fernandez, they were always built to keep the ball. They were always built to have possession and to play those passes. And to play, we were always meant to be playing through our midfield, not to be bypassing it. So if Caicedo is saying this, obviously Enzo definitely suffered, that's for sure. But yeah, Caicedo, even towards the back end, had a very good end to the season. I'd say for most of the season he was good. He had a few little, moments, you would say, bad moments early on, and some glittered through. But most of the season he was very good. So yeah, I mean, we don't have to worry about this anymore because our philosophy should be completely opposite as to what it was. So hopefully Caicedo benefits from that. He had a lot to say also on Chelsea fans and the pressure of playing at home and the fact that, it wasn't the greatest atmosphere at times. And since February, his agent had hired a person to review his games so he could improve his performances as well. Obviously, the money that we paid was maybe getting to him, the analysis online, and obviously we know the media were very much heavily speaking about Enzo and Caicedo and the £250 million midfield, and they're not performing. And that was a period where maybe Gallagher was turning up a bit more in their eyes and of course was getting a lot of the plaudits as being someone that didn't cost anything. So, he would have maybe heard all of that and seen all of that, and maybe it did affect him. But he did improve, as I said, and he clearly acknowledges that he improved as well, which is good. So I've never had any concerns about Caicedo. I think he's got tremendous ability. I think he's got a lot of talent. I know exactly what we watched at Brighton. The reason why we purchased him. Did we overpay? Yes, because you don't pay £115 million for any midfielder really in this current generation of players. You definitely don't pay £150 million for a midfielder that doesn't really give you, minimum 15 goals or, from midfield like a Lampard or someone. Or who's, a generational midfielder. I'm not saying Caicedo is generational whatsoever. So it was an overpayment. But just because it's an overpayment doesn't mean that he's not a quality player. And I think he will show that he definitely is, if you haven't already been convinced already. So yeah, it's good to know that the valuation of him and how he reflects on the valuation that was put to Brighton and the whole transfer that went through is now kind of he's over that, hopefully, and next season he says it's going to be excellent. So he's going in with a strong, positive mindset, and that's all you can ask for. Now, the breaking news, exclusive news from Fabrizio today was that Rio, our young Rio from the academy, is going to Liverpool. The deal is going to be completed. I don't follow, this age group whatsoever. I think he's like 15 years old. I'm never going to cry or shed tears about a 15-year-old leaving my football club, no matter how much noise has been pumped into the Twitter or X hemisphere about this said player. Because for me personally, there's just so much that can happen from 15 years old all the way up to 21, which is your growth and development as mentally, physically, technically. There's so much that can happen in that period that can sway you into the wrong direction or into the right direction. And there's so many talents that have come before this kid and will be after this kid, and they'll be hyped, or they might reach the level expected, or they won't. So it is unfortunate because, everybody talks about him and it sounds like he's an incredible talent. People feel like this could be a Musiala 0.2. We could do nothing about Musiala, as I always say. He was always going to go to Germany. His family wanted to move back, and the compensation was paid. There's nothing you can do to stop that. It's not a bidding situation at that age. So listen, we signed Estêvão when he was 16. Again, so young. I never get overly excited about players that young. Obviously, it's great to see that they're killing it and smashing it at their own age group, but there's so much that can happen. There's still so much that can happen, even with Estêvão as well coming in. But he's gone. Estêvão comes in. Kenji Pius comes in. Tariq George signed a new deal. He's a left winger that we haven't lost. He's gonna be here for at least a few more years and hopefully gets opportunities in the Conference League this season. We can't have everybody. I'm not gonna really throw toys at the pram just because we've lost one talented kid. You will always lose a talented kid. You can't keep everyone, right? So he sees his future better placed at Liverpool. Maybe they don't have a young Tyreek George at left wing coming through who's only a few years older. Maybe they don't have anyone that's going to interrupt the pathway as much. I don't know. But there's so much that goes on, you know, agents and family members. And at this age, you just have to hope that they want to stay. If they don't, they don't. It is what it is. So we'll see what he becomes. We'll see what he turns out to be. But we have enough young players with talent that we should be okay if we develop them. That's what we've got to do. Man United are considering Ben Chilwell as well. That was good news, but it's not anything official. There's no actual, bid. There's no actual formal talk between the clubs. So we kind of just have to continue to see how that one plays out. I mean, I think that would be a good sale from us because Chilwell is very injury prone. He's very unreliable from a fitness standpoint. His availability is non-existent almost. And I just believe we can upgrade on him anyway. I think we can have better. And we've obviously signed a young left back over the weekend. He'll move into a deputy rotational role next season if Chilwell is sold. And I think with the wages that he's on and how little we see him, and the fact that I don't think he is a Reece James level fullback to kind of hang your hat on and actually wait for him to return. I don't think he's that important that you have to always wait for him to come back. He's not one of those players that you'd say is the best fullback in the world. I think you can cash in at Manchester United and get him off the wage bill. So if Man United come in with him with a good offer, then so be it. I'm more than happy to see that exit, and that would be the left back that I would choose because I've said before that Cucurella is at least giving you game time and giving you some minutes, and obviously he's having a really good Euros. And speaking of Estêvão, as I did mention Estêvão earlier, obviously his manager because he scored an incredible goal yesterday and obviously got an assist as well. There's been a lot of talk about him. Again, with Estêvão, all I ask from Chelsea and all I asked in general is that if you're going to sign this kid, just make sure that you kind of make this one your crown jewel along with Kendry Pires. Don't sell us the crown jewel chat and then 3 years down the line, if you've got bored of the development and maybe he hasn't scored 20 goals in the league, 20 goals in one season, that you go and find someone else and move him on. And let's really see this one out, because people get emotionally invested into these players, whether they like it or not. They might not want to because it's a risk, but people do get emotionally invested. And when they do, you don't want to have your emotions played with and thrown into the bin. So listen, he looks like a serious talent, that's for sure. When you sign so many talents in one go, it's hard to sometimes separate who is actually special from who is not, especially if you're told everybody's special. But this one certainly does look incredibly special. The shot power that he's able to generate is truly ridiculous for someone of his age, and obviously his dribbling has always been there as well. Physically, we'll see how he develops. Like I said, he's only 17, I think, just turned. So much to develop physically, so much to see what he's like mentally, and obviously, hopefully, technically developing as well. So right now, I'm just enjoying the fact that he's in form in his team. He's enjoying his football. He's not under immense pressure because he's not here yet. And I hope once he does get to England, all those people shouting generational talent still stick with him through the bad times. Because there will be times where he frustrates you. There will be times he gives the ball away. Someone that attacks their man that often. You saw what happened with Vinny at Real Madrid. It took him a season or two to get into his flow. A winger that attacks their fullback that often, especially at a young age, they're probably going to give the ball away a bit. They're probably going to make the wrong decisions at times. Obviously, he made the right decision for the assist the other day, but he might not make the right decision in the Premier League when it's a higher level. You gotta be able to ride through that and see that period out. And if you do, then you'll actually probably get the talent that you invested in the first place. If you don't have the patience to actually see out the growing pains and the period that he's going to be frustrating at times, then you may as well never have invested at someone that young. So, I mean, it would be fantastic if he just turns up and he's a Yamal kind of talent who just literally just immediately comes in and just looks like a grown-ass man and performs like a grown-ass man, but I'm not going to place that level of pressure and expectation on him. Even though it's very easy to after seeing some screamers, I'm going to still keep very calm with this player and just let him do his thing. So we'll see. But guys, that is really everything going on at the moment. It's a quick, nice little reaction to everything at the moment. Little dribs and drabs of news. We'll see if anything concrete comes, but tomorrow the watch along is there. Wednesday the watch along is there for the 2 semi-final games, and then we're preparing to go to Germany for the final, and we're really gonna vlog that, and it's gonna be insane and sensational regardless of who makes it. I'm just buzzing to be there at this point, so looking forward to it. But yeah, guys, make sure you smash up the likes, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. In a bit, people. Peace. Come on.